I wanted to make this video to sort of discuss when and where and why you should use music in TTRPGs and why it's so important to do so. Music is a cheat code to the heart. Music immediately tells us how we should be feeling in any given moment. It sets the tone, it guides your players, it gives your scenes weight. I think we all know that music is an incredibly powerful tool, whether we realize it or not. And I think one of the most uh, simplest ways to show how much music can have an effect on an audience is to think of horror movies. You know that feeling when the music starts to swell? You instinctively grip around you, you know something's coming. Even before anything happens on screen, your heart rate starts to climb. You start to get a little bit of a sweat. That all is accomplished by music doing its job. And I'll show you a little example of how some ways things can be kind of recut and kind of interpreted differently simply by the musical and editing choices. Or if we take a comedy and see what it's like if it was recut and scored like a thriller.
I walked all day and night to find you.
You look like you came from the North Pole.
It's exactly where I came from.
It's a little complicated, but it's nothing
Honey.
that we can't handle. What?
He thinks he's an elf.
I'm sorry, what?
Hopefully, this provides a good example as to how music can be used to manipulate how an audience is feeling. Even commercials understand this. You ever notice how one of those Eyes of the Angel dog commercials or orphan commercials will really get you with just the right piano track and suddenly have you pulling at your heartstrings? Music is emotional shorthand. It sets the tone, it guides your players, and it gives your scenes weight. So, if you're running Dungeons and Dragons or any tabletop RPG, why wouldn't you be using that to your advantage? And if you are using it, might I suggest some other ways, other sources, and how you might think about using this music? How to use music in TTRPGs. For this section, I'm going to be giving you a behind the scenes peek at how I do things on Roll20. Because, of course, once you understand how powerful music is, the next question becomes, how do I use it? And what kind of music should I be using? At most tables, there's probably some kind of generic fantasy music that's playing. As music plays, there's probably this image in your head of a classic fantasy ambience, maybe a tavern tune, some rain sounds in the forest, and that's all great. But think of yourself as a director. Music isn't just background noise, it's part of the storytelling. So what tone are you trying to create? I'll be giving you a sneak peek into some of the music that I use in my own games. See, on Roll20, I've kind of got everything split up into different playlists. I find that having a playlist is much more useful than trying to have specific tracks that are specific scenes. And I prefer to have a lot more playlists than just one or two, because I like to have a lot of variation and there's little differences in the moods and then that you might not really realize. For example, there is a difference between having a like mysterious soundtrack, right? If the party's exploring this cave and I'm describing, you all enter the cave and you can see old boxes, a statue that looks like it's been untouched by time here underground, and an old brazier that looks like it's been split in half. This sets the tone as being one of mystery, one where the party might be inclined to question things more, investigate, curious. There's a difference between that and having things be a little bit more suspenseful. So if I play something like this while they're coming in here, this is really intense. This might be the kind of thing where I say you enter this cave and you can see as you look towards the center of the water a statue rising up above from the middle. You recognize this statue as being that of Orcus, the demon prince. You have undoubtedly entered into an old cultist lair of Orcus. And the things you're seeing around you are all signs that show demonic worship and maybe the presence of more demons here. That's obviously super different than if we were to also start a little bit scary, maybe. Decor. Okay. Our party steps through the entrance into the cave. They see the walls covered by webs and these glowing, like luminescent rocks that are nearby, giving a soft light everywhere. They look towards the center of the water and can see a statue. The statue looks morose, sad, like it's a figure who was sculpted, suffering. There's something else here. Look under the water, the crystal clear water there, and look towards the bottom of this lake and can see the floor is covered in bones. There is something in here that is lurking, something that's likely been feeding. And all of that, I think, is largely achieved not by my own words, but by the music kind of carrying the tone. It could be just as much a peaceful day, and our party could be walking around and hearing um, ocean, water, the sounds of the waterfall. It's like they're near the coast. And maybe they can't quite hear it, but in the distance, the cave is close enough to the surface that they can hear distant animals, birds. And so it could just as very well be that our party walks into this cave and sees, wow, it's beautiful in here. This looks like a place of worship for uh, maybe a deity that's been long since abandoned. And maybe the party could go and learn more about this statue and see, wow, this place, this little respite that was put here. Maybe these rocks were purposely put here to illuminate the place and give it just a beautiful look. It's something that the tone of the search of the environment, all of it really changes a lot based on the ambience and the music that we're putting. So I ask you again, when you're storytelling, what tone are you trying to create? What feeling should the players walk away with? And you can kind of see this is how I organize everything. I've got some player themes, like I mentioned, going back to themes can really help. Um, so, for example, when one of our players, Eli, he is a bard. His enemies are mimes. So when he encounters any mimes, I play him the mime song from. I got a few player themes here, but I haven't expanded too much on this. But kind of having things from, if we were to start combat, some good combat music to play here. And that's different than boss battle music, right? Boss battle music is normally more intense, as you can hear here. But there's times for different scenes for everything here. This just makes it easier for me to be able to play things. I've organized all of these. So I have one playlist that's just for traveling. This is kind of for like overland, traversing the landscape, or overland, just like maybe they're going through the forest and they're exploring the area. Something that's maybe contemplative, maybe a little bit slow, but doesn't get too much in the way of the scene. The thing with background music that I normally look for is, does it support the scene? Does it support the game without distracting from it too much? There are tracks that can overpower the story. You don't want things with lyrics. You don't want anything that's too dramatic, too bombastic. You still want your players to be able to hear each other. So I tend to lean towards video game music and anime music. Um, There's a reason it works so well. It's designed to be evocative, to be memorable. It's designed to kind of loop in your head without being annoying, and that kind of makes it great for scenes where you just want some support. Um, One example I'll show you of how music can really change a scene is from the Super Mario Bros. Movie. There's this song called "You Say Run" from an anime called My Hero Academy, and this has been kind of played to death over and over again. Of like, oh, this song can go with anything. But just to kind of show you how much a scene can change and how much you can really affect your story and the emotions that are being played here. Anime is often full of these moments, and I think it relies on making an emotional connection with the audience. So when they hear the music begin to rise, when they see our heroes take one more stand, there is something inside of us that reacts to this, something inside of us that cannot help but connect. That is why I think music is so important when it comes to making your games, especially when it comes to the hard hitting moments. When half your party members are on the ground, when it looks like the big bad is going to get away with it all, when you have to revivify one of your allies, when the party's favorite NPC has gone down. Having these in your back pocket to help with that gut punch really helps just amplify the emotions and the stakes and helps elevate this to the next level. I spend a lot of time kind of sorting through the music and organizing it and taking songs out, taking tracks out, putting tracks in to better fit what it is that we're going to be doing, and even for the kind of campaign. For this campaign that we're doing now, it's a little more of a cyberpunk esque campaign, so I needed some sounds that were going to sound a little bit more futuristic, something that could sound a little bit more dystopian, city above. And there are all sorts of great resources that are available. This is Canberry City, so that way I have music that we always start the session with, so players always kind of know, oh, we're getting into the mode here, getting into our characters' mindsets, getting into the flow of the story. It just helps to kind of tear down that barrier between our world and this imaginary one. And it kind of helps us immerse ourselves in it more. But that may not be your thing. Maybe you have something that is a little bit more fantastical. And there are all sorts of styles and genres and tones and things to get into. I think the most important thing is that you're making choices. Overall, it makes things a lot easier for me as a dungeon master to be able to kind of set things. I've got my playlist and everything organized. It's winter, it's cold, the winds are harsh, but there's still animals, it's still not quite the dead silence of winter yet. Forest is still alive with activity. And our party's trekking through the wilderness, seeing everything around them. How do they choose to interact? What do they choose to do? How do they spend their time? The music is the added flavor to these scenes. So I like to look at a lot of background music for video games. Like I mentioned, they tend to be very repeatable. And I find that they work most often for combat. If we look at some of the music here, like from Fire Emblem Three Houses, great track to have for combat. It's evocative, it's upbeat. You kind of feel a rush of battle, a little bit that excitement, and it still feels lighthearted. It doesn't feel like a high stakes battle, and that's why I kind of like that tune. Whereas if we go to something like Prepare for Battle, Delicious in Dungeon, this is from the anime Delicious in Dungeon, and this track is also very upbeat, lively, kind of want to like sway to it. I guess not too upbeat, but in any case, this feels like background music in a game, in an RPG that you'd be playing while you're waiting for your turn to come up. This is the music that's playing in the background, and I like that a lot. There are some that are a little more upbeat, some that are a little more recognizable. You might notice this from Helldivers. There are plenty of great games out there that have great soundtracks, and you probably love them already. So this is how I recommend using your music here, especially for combat. And like I said, all of that's in my combat playlist. I don't have to think about it or worry about it again. And whatever scene the players are in, if there's something sad that's happened, if their players are being sneaky, right? Being sneaky is not the same as having a mystery. So players are like a little bit tense, right? It's not quite the same tension. Sorry, this one. This feels like sneaking through the forest, not really sure what you're looking for, what you're going to find, and you're hoping that you're staying safe. All of those are very different than if you were to have, let's say, the big bad of the campaign suddenly shows up and you're like, oh, things are not good. We might be in trouble. Something along those lines to have it recognizable for the party. I'm constantly tweaking this and changing this and adding new tunes and things because I do like certain things for specific scenes, right? There was one we had a funeral, and I wanted to have this kind of music playing in the background, like a low jazz. There's times where we're walking through like a fairy location, and it kind of feels like Kingdom Hearts walk in, and Dante feels like it's a nice tune to be walking through the forest too. You know, for specific scenes, those are great. And then of course we have other things like if we're in space and we're having like a space journey, a space mission. Just like that, we are transported to space. Kind of get that sense, like the big, wide open unknown. Over time, you can start assigning certain tracks to characters, locations, factions, and the players do notice when that familiar theme creeps in to match the moment. It hits so much harder. I hope that you have enjoyed listening and learning about how I use music in my games. I hope this has inspired you to think about music more deeply and how you might use it in your own games. Thanks, as always, to the Goblin Squad for your support. These videos would not happen without you, and I am forever grateful for everything that I've received. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Take care.